Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'll show you how I made over this mid-century modern dresser that I got for free. The top of the dresser had some scratches on it in the paint. One of the drawers had a chunk of wood missing. And now for the reason I think they gave away the dresser for free, there were 3 large holes in the side of the dresser, almost like someone took a hammer to it, so get ready for some repairs. I started out by removing all the hardware and putting it in a bowl so I wouldn't lose anything. Next, I put stripper on the dresser to start removing all the paint. After about 20 minutes, the paint had started to bubble and wrinkle, so I went in with a plastic scraper to remove the paint. I put on a second coat of stripper to remove the rest of the paint. The metallic gold paint was a little harder to get off, so I ended up having to do 3 coats of stripper to remove that. I used mineral spirits and fine steel wool to remove the rest of the paint and stripper residue. Here's how the drawers looked after stripping. I gave everything a sand with 220 grit sandpaper, and then I sanded the curved drawers by hand with 220 grit sandpaper wrapped around a sanding sponge. Next, I moved on to repairing the large holes in the side of the dresser. I removed any loose pieces of wood in each hole. Since one of the holes went all the way through, I cut a piece of 1/4 inch hardboard to go on the inside of the dresser. I added a bunch of wood glue to the hardboard and clamped it in place to dry. I mixed up Bondo to fill all the holes. Once the first coat of Bondo had dried, I added a little bit more to even things out a little bit better. I sanded the Bondo smooth with 120 grit sandpaper once it had hardened. I had a few small voids after sanding the Bondo back, and I used spackle to fill all of those to make it really smooth. I applied clear polyacrylic to the drawers because I really liked the color of the natural wood. The dresser top looked a little bit dry and patchy after sanding, so I applied a water-based pre-stain since I was going to be using water-based polyacrylic. This is how the top looked right after applying the pre-stain. After about 30 minutes and wiping off the excess pre-stain, I gave the top a coat of polyacrylic. I filled the gouge in the curved drawer with quick wood, so I decided to paint the top two drawers and the dresser frame with a light blue color. Here's how it looked after the first coat of paint. There were two places on the top of the dresser that had sanded through veneer, so I tried to use some paint to try to make those areas blend in a little better. I have a terrible sense of what colors to mix to get the shade I'm looking for, so I spent hours trying to get these areas to match. It was really hard for me because the paint went on so much lighter than it dried, but I finally got them to a somewhat decent spot and gave up. This technique was worth a shot, but it definitely wasn't as easy for me to do as some other YouTubers made it look in their videos. You can definitely tell where the areas are in direct sunlight, but they look much better in lower lighting. I wanted to try cleaning the hardware by soaking them in vinegar. I let them sit in the vinegar for several days, which ended up being a huge mistake, and you'll see that in a minute. After I took the hardware out of the vinegar, I rinsed them with water, dried them, and spray painted them with 3 coats of champagne mist spray paint. And now for the issue. Somehow the vinegar ended up eating away at the internal threads on this hardware, so the screws no longer had any threads to grab onto. Luckily, I had some leftover hardware screws from another project that I could use. I used wire strippers to cut off the head of the screw. I also had some JB weld epoxy that can be used on metal. I mixed up equal parts of the hardener and steel and put it on the screw, and then inserted that into the hardware. The epoxy hardens in about 15 minutes, and I just kept checking to make sure the screws were in the correct position. The epoxy fully cures in 4 to 6 hours, so I let them harden overnight. The next day I came in and attached the hardware to the drawers by inserting the hardware into the existing holes, placing a nut on the back, and tightening the nut with the socket wrench. And with the hardware in, here's how the dresser turned out. I love the wood grain on the drawers and top, and I'm really glad I was able to repair the large holes in the side and salvage the original hardware. Thanks for watching. I hope you liked the video, and I'll see you in the next one.